on council for Monday, April 6, 2020. Please call the roll.
Mayor Coos?
Here.
Mr. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Cummings?
Here.
Mr. Nord?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Lorenz?
Here.
Mr. Preston?
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a number of items on the omnibus agenda. There had been some talk that there wouldn't be a need for this meeting because there was so little. But Ms. Reese went through items that she considered time specific and we should probably address. And so I'm going to let her give you just a little bit of background on why we're going forward on some of these right now, and then we'll get right into the omnibus agenda. Ms. Reese?
All right. Thank you, Mayor Coos. On the consent agenda tonight, we have 4 items that are capital investment projects that involved some bids. I wanted to highlight to council what those are and why they're on the agenda. And then we have 1 additional item pertaining to the Children's Discovery Museum. Very quickly, I'll just summarize. Item B pertains to the water department. That particular project has been budgeted. It is coming in within budget. And it is a project that will involve installation of water main to improve some water quality issues in a neighborhood on the west side of the community. In addition to the larger main that we will be putting in, it also includes installation of new fire hydrants and such. So that is a project that we do determine that we believe is important and will improve water quality. Item C is the Children's Discovery Museum exhibit, the Healthy Me exhibit. As a reminder, Council in July of 2019, authorized a not to exceed price on a contract to replace the Healthy Me exhibit in the amount of $350,000. During the course of design of that exhibit, we involved some healthcare professionals and some educators, and we have expanded the scope of that museum exhibit. And the price now has increased to $419,000. We believe that project will result in a higher quality and exhibit and will meet the needs of the exhibit or of the museum for years to come. And the Children's Discovery Museum Foundation has committed to reimburse the town for that expense. We're excited about that project simply because if we can stay on schedule, the exhibit will be in place by August, and that will hopefully be a wonderful time for the community to come out and celebrate that new exhibit. And Healthy Me, it seems to be quite relevant and pertinent at this time of the pandemic that we're going through. Item D pertains to street resurfacing. This is an annual contract that we bid out each year. We have numerous years of experience with row construction. Unfortunately, they were the single bidder, but that has been our experience along with the city of Bloomington for quite a few years. That project does involve resurfacing streets that the engineering department has assessed and rated, and they have the highest need for resurfacing this year, and that did come in within our budgeted expense. This is a budgeted item as well.
Ms. Reese?
Yes.
Before you finish, I just want people listening to know I made a mistake and we didn't go to public comment, but as soon as you finish your comments, we'll go to public comment. I apologize to the people waiting to make comment.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Item E pertains to a replacement of the Glen Avenue Bridge. That project has been budgeted for a couple of years. We actually had originally planned to replace the bridge in 2019, but ran into some challenges in terms of getting the project done then. Did have to delay it and are looking forward to moving forward in 2020. It is a budgeted expense. This project was bid out. The bid award, if council supports the bid tonight, does come in under budget. And the timing of that project is such that we expect to get the work started as soon as Unit 5 is done for the summer, because this particular bridge construction project is adjacent to Glen Avenue School or Glen School. So we're hoping to get that project started as soon as Unit 5 is done and have it completed by August. And then the final item under consent is the annual sidewalk project for replacement of sidewalks and ADA ramps. And this is a project that will cover multiple locations in the community, and it too is coming in under budget. So those are the highlights of the consent agenda items tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Again, I apologize to the people waiting to make public comment. We will go to public comment now. And I would ask the people joining public comment to state your name. And if you're watching, would you please mute your audio, because it will cause a significant echo and we might not be able to hear you. So Ms. Walker, who's our first public commenter?
Mayor, we did not receive any requests for public comment.
Oh, no requests. Thank you. The omnibus agenda items considered routine in nature will be handled with one vote unless a council member would like to pull an item for discussion. Any requests to do that? Ms. Smith?
Yes. I only want to pull item D for some further clarifications on some of the information that Ms. Reese shared, and expanding on some of the questions I have about construction scheduling during this pandemic.
Thank you. Mr. Nord?
I would like to pull item C.
Thank you. Motion for approval, please.
So moved. Kathleen.
Second.
Thank you. Items considered under omnibus are approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 16th, 2020. A resolution to award a bid for the Bryan Adelaide Wilmette Water Main Replacement Project to Stark Excavating at a total cost of $865,400 plus up to a potential $15,000 bonus for early completion. A resolution to accept bids and award a contract to Stark Excavating Incorporated for the Glen Avenue Bridge Replacement Project in the amount of $872,788.47. And a resolution to accept bids and award a contract to J.G. Stewart Contractors Incorporated for the 2020 miscellaneous sidewalk improvements. That has to do with 50/50 sidewalk replacement and ADA ramps, and in the amount of $454,480.90. Please call the roll.
Mr. McCarthy?
Aye.
Ms. Cummings?
Aye.
Mr. Nord?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz?
Aye.
Mr. Preston?
Aye.
Mayor Kus?
Aye. The omnibus is approved. Item C is a resolution authorizing the Children's Discovery Museum Executive Director to amend the design build agreement with Lucy Creative LLC for the new Healthy Me exhibit in an amount not to exceed $419,475. Mr. Nord?
I so move.
Second, this is Scott.
Mr. Nord?
I assume that the board has not met since the start of this pandemic. Is that accurate?
The Children's Discovery Museum Foundation Board?
Yes.
That would be a safe assumption. They have not had a formal meeting.
Okay. In light of that, I think it would be unfair for us to agree to spend another $60-some thousand of their money without letting them talk about what's going on. They may have They may decide to tweak this exhibit to make it more relevant to what's currently going on. Also, with the financial situation, we don't know what the financial situation of the town is, and that we may be able to honor the financial commitment that we had thought we could have. So it also doesn't seem like they would be starting any of this work right now, since most places are on shutdown and they can't go into the facility to start working anyway. So I would like to see this tabled for a month to give them the opportunity to see if this is the route that they still want to go.
I would say, Mr. Nord, that the motion to table stops all discussion. If you're willing to hold that motion for just a moment and see if any other council members have a comment on that, and then we'll come back to your motion to table if you're agreeable.
Sure, that's fine. I agree.
Any further comment or staff comment on that?
In regard to staff comment, I guess I will defer to Cultural Arts Director Beth Wisman. I believe that she'll share information that the foundation board is comfortable and confident in moving forward, but she can talk about the timeline for construction.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Beth.
So, Mr. Nord, you were asking about whether the project can move forward. The funds have already been secured through pledges and payments so far. The foundation always keeps some a little bit of money moving forward for projects so they can have that for long-term planning, and that includes this exhibit. As far as timeline, the board actually approved this a few months ago, knowing that the cost was going to go up, and they were comfortable with an amount leading up to $420,000. So we asked Lucy Creative and our team, we worked together to come up with a budget that would allow the expansion of the scope, which does definitely include pretty much everything we're talking about in this pandemic right now, to be able to do that with that budget. And we were able to get it done. We were pretty excited about it, actually, because it took a lot of compromise and creative changes in the designs and being very efficient with the materials. There's a contingency built into that price, so we actually might not even spend that total amount when it's said and done. But all of these dollars are coming from privately raised fundraisers and gifts the foundation has secured. That is just simply going through the town for managing the project and having legal department and some protections in place for the contract. But the foundation is definitely on board with this and have been anxiously awaiting this contract update. They just finally arrived. The timing is not fun, but we're good.
Ms. Smith.
I had raised some concerns in an email to Ms. Reese talking about the timing, and was wondering, as far as working on it, since the museum is empty, is there any opportunity to accelerate the completion of this project, or does the lockdown impact the work on this project and still look at August as the most realistic deadline?
That's a great question. And I would say that the timing has been a little bit lucky for us. Right now in this month is when we're finishing our written content and our graphic design review. So the actual schematics for this exhibit are just coming together in the next month. So we won't be, knock on wood, behind schedule for actual fabrication for a while now. So actually I just talked with Michael Shapiro from Lucy Creative today, and he explained that we should be able to hit our deadline of opening in August. Of course, if things continue beyond the end of April, that might be affected, but it would only be affected by as many weeks or months that things are shut down. They also have other projects they're working on across the country, so they aren't able to do some of those projects, but the majority of work that's happening right now is actually happening on our end, and our staff is able to do that from home, and we can work with their designers online, and then the fabrication probably starts in July.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further on this item? Mr. Norder, do you still want a motion to table or not?
I would like to hear from the board, or at least give the board a chance to have some input into this, since this is money that they're spending from donors. And if it doesn't impact anything, I would just like to give them that option. And if it comes back that they want us to approve this, then I have no problem approving it. It's just, it doesn't sound like we have given the board any time to talk since this pandemic started. And this pandemic this is a global issue. So that's my only reason why I would like to see it tabled for, it doesn't have to be a month, for the next council meeting, because they could do a virtual meeting, just give us the thumbs up or thumbs down. So I would request to table this till the next meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I would second that motion to get the sense from the council.
Please call the roll on the motion to table.
Ms. Cummings,
No.
Mr. Nord,
Yes, aye.
Ms. Smith,
No.
Mrs. Lorenz,
No.
Mr. Preston,
No.
Mr. McCarthy,
No.
Mayor Kus.
No. The tabling motion fails. Now, please call the roll on the original resolution.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. The resolution is approved. Item D is a resolution to accept bids and award a contract to Rowe Construction Company, a division of United Contractors Midwest, in the amount of $942,755.07 for the 2020 General Street Resurfacing Project. Ms. Smith?
I move this item.
Second, this is Scott.
Ms. Smith?
I appreciate Ms. Reese providing the background in advance of the omnibus vote, but on the this particular item, when you talked about the one bid, this, I'm presuming the deadline for the bid occurred before the general lockdown. Is that accurate?
The deadline for the bid, I'll take a quick look. Yes, that the bids were opened on March 18th. So I think it was right before the lockdown.
And not specific to this project, but has the town modified its bidding process and communication if we are continuing with soliciting bids to make sure that we're contacting all parties that might be interested in work?
Actually, if I could clarify, Ms. Smith, I misspoke. The bids actually were open on Wednesday, March 25th. So I believe that may have been right around the week when we were on the lockdown. I will defer to Mr. Otto regarding communication with bidders. As mentioned, though, on street resurfacing, it is generally our practice that we only get one bid, unfortunately.
And before Mr. Otto speaks, I will say this has been a frustration for council for many years. I've been on council and mayor close to 20 years now, and I don't think we've ever seen more than one bid. There's one major contractor in the area. There are contractors nearby who do not seem to be interested in bidding on projects. And Wilmington has the same issue. Very frustrating that we're not getting bids. I actually have a friend in the asphalt business in the Chicago area, and he said it's the most competitive environment he's ever seen. But downstate, it seems to be the norm that they're single bidders. Mr. Otto.
Thank you, Mayor Kus and Ms. Reese. That is accurate, that we typically only get one bid for our resurfacing contracts. We try different things to attract other bidders. We make sure that the bidders are aware and the projects are well advertised. We also try to break down smaller contracts. This contract is under $1 million in hopes that we could have attracted maybe some of the smaller bidders in our community, and we just did not get any interest this year. The bid procedures were modified via addendum after the lockdown. Angie Honker, the town clerk, did a fantastic job working with the different bidders. We were consistent in how we advertised and how we went about collecting bids for all projects that were out for bid at the time. We utilized a process that allowed social distancing, as well as kept an in-person bid opening that I believe meets state contracting laws. So appreciate her work on that. Bids were opened on the 4th floor in the large room across from the council chambers, and bidders were able to walk in their bids or submit them via USPS or FedEx or UPS. And
can you expand upon the vetting process that the engineering department does to confirm that the costs that are submitted are reasonable?
Absolutely. Yeah, we compare prior years' prices that are received, as well as do benchmarking to what other communities are doing. We look at what Bloomington prices are and how we compare, especially the tonnage, the price per ton for asphalt. So we look at that price per ton, but also different factors affect the pricing, such as how long of streets we're doing. This particular contract has a couple cul-de-sacs. We typically see higher prices for short stretches of street where they can't go for long distances. However, in a cul-de-sac, that's not really possible. So we're actually pleased with the prices we got for this contract.
And one final question. Under the current circumstances, will any of this work begin while the stay-at-home order is in place? And will the construction workers be able to protect themselves with safe distances as they complete the work, if they are able to work?
Excellent question. Yes, we would anticipate the work beginning in April. So that would be before the April 30th stay-at-home order ends. Infrastructure construction is an essential business under the governor's executive order. The work on the surfacing contracts are typically performed under small or mid-sized crews where social distancing is possible. As far as management meetings, pre-construction meetings, communications between the town and the contractor, much of that can be done via online platform, much the same as we're doing tonight. So I believe that social distancing is possible.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Welcome. Further on this item, please call the roll.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz?
Aye.
Mr. Preston?
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy?
Aye.
Ms. Cummings?
Aye.
Mr. Nord?
Aye.
Mayor Kus?
Aye, the resolution is approved. That concludes our omnibus. We have no general orders and one item of new business tonight, and that is a COVID-19 economic report by Economic Development Council CEO Patrick Hoban. Mr. Hoban.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, great. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so tonight we're going to have a brief overview of some of the programs that are available really shortly on how we got here and what we're going to do hopefully going forward. As I mentioned, my name is Patrick Hoban. I am the CEO of the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council. Really short agenda. It's a hero's journey. Start up with a challenge, which everybody knows, a little bit where we struggled and some of the resolutions that we've seen so far. So the challenge itself with COVID, I mean, we know the cases. These are up to date for today. There's been 307 deaths in Illinois. The shelter in place is definitely taking its toll on the economy, especially in Bloomington Normal with over 21,000 college students, and also just the overall impact on the non-essential businesses. I think the big thing, though, is just trying to find out, which will be hard to do, the uncertainty on when this will end. I've heard talks of, this is our new normal, and I don't believe that. The new normal is not going to come until this summer once we start the recovery process. The biggest struggle that we've had so far is just tracking all the programs. There is a press conference daily from the feds and from the states. We've gone through phases 1, 2, and 3, and there's rumors of a phase 4 from the feds coming through. There's been countless webinars, email updates, news articles, and unfortunately, some fake news as well. So trying to decipher what's real and what's not has been a struggle. And the other side of it is a lot of the bills are passed, and then the regulation comes later. So phase 3 was passed a week ago, and then Friday is actually when some of the regulations on how the bankers are actually going to implement this were starting to come out. So we're still learning. One of the resolutions right off the bat was being able to partner with the Chamber of Commerce and the CVB and to share our resources. We seem to be on the phone daily, even with our regional economic development agencies, is trying to find out what everybody was trying to do. And that's why beingprepared.org was created. It was just a way to have a repository to share all of our resources and the policy changes. I think to date, a combination of policy changes and programs in place has been 27. That's quite a bit just for the last 2 weeks. I don't want to go over all 27 of them, but I thought it'd be a good idea to highlight some of the ones that we think will be more popular than others. The big ones, though, for us when it comes to the economy is what our employers are going to be able to use financially, and then resource-wise, and then also the policy changes, but also the employees themselves. So all that is tracked on beingprepared.org. The first one that came through was the economic injury disaster loans. These, you can be up to $2 million. You have to get these directly through the SBA itself, unlike some of the other programs where you would contact your local lender. Most of these are all for under 500 employees. This is a 3.75% rate at a 30-year, and you can get up to $25,000 actually with no collateral. But to get up to the $2 million, you're going to have to add some collateral. There is a version of that, though, that is for $10,000, and that is they're calling it the Emergency Economic Development, Economic Injury Disaster Advance. And this is again under 500 employees, but it's not subject to repayment. And the other side of that is that $10,000, it's not subject to repayment if you get the loan or if you're denied. So that's something I would encourage everybody to inquire about on SBA. Again, all these are on beingprepared.org. Another one that came through is an express bridge loan. And these are ones that you would get if you are already working with an SBA express lender. If you have experience with SBA loans in the past, this is how you can get $25,000 that would help you bridge the gap between the time that you're getting your financing from other programs. The big one, though, that we're talking to a lot of our financial institutions about, that everyone's going to be fighting for, is going to be the Paycheck Protection Program. The big thing with the Paycheck Protection Program is that it's fully forgivable if 75% is used for payroll. The whole goal of this is try to keep your employees employed. This is not, it's through the SBA, it's their program, but you need to see your local lender. So we highly encourage everyone to contact your banks as soon as possible. This program actually opened up on Friday. I don't know if all the rules were still in place. Some of the regulation is still coming out on this, but it's a 1% for 2-year loan, and you got 6 months payment deferment. So every business, anyone that's listening, tell them to go and contact their banks as soon as possible. Illinois also got in on some programs. They created the Illinois Small Business Emergency Loan Fund. This is up to $50,000, but it's for under 50 employees and less than $3 million in revenue. This is working capital loans, and it's 5 years, but it also has the 6-month payment deferment, and it's also fully forgivable. Small Business COVID 19 relief. This is a program that came through from the Illinois State Treasurer's Office. This is actually funding set aside to go to financial institutions. If you start to take a look at the math as far as how much money is available compared to the amount of businesses that are out there, they're going to fight for this. At some point, some of the smaller financial institutions might run out of funding, and I think that's why the state treasurer put this program in place so that there will be funds after this first wave goes through. There's been speculation that the first round of funding can be gone in 10 days to 14 days. So we need people to, like I said, contact your banker as soon as possible. Outside of the financial policies that have been put in place, there's also been some changes as far as small business debt relief. There's been employee retention credits, delaying on your payroll taxes, some changes in paid sick leave, tax liabilities. We've got full one-pagers on all of these. We've put together a recovery guide that is going to be geared towards the businesses. And we've also got one in the works that's going to be geared towards employees too, that break all these down. As we mentioned, there's just been so many changes to try to track. And as the regulation continues to roll out, we don't want to go through every single one of these, but we do have write-ups on them. And I'll go back to beingprepared.org as one of the best places to get your information. Another thing that we're talking about locally is trying to convert our current revolving loan fund. We met with the county last week, and we're going to meet again this Wednesday for another meeting to discuss how we can come up with some solutions locally. Because again, the money might be in place now, but that money is going to run out, and we need to have programs where we can assist. There is currently a county revolving loan fund of about $600,000 that the Community Development Corporation manages, actually administers for the county. The problem with that, though, in the past has been that in order to get those funds, you had to turn over your taxes and your business model and finances over to the public when you're applying. And a lot of times people would be really interested in the program, but once they got that far, they didn't want their finances all over Facebook. So one of the solutions that we've talked about is possibly treating this the same way that we did with Rivian and with Brandt by housing the confidential documents at the EDC so that the board members can come in and see them, but we would not actually publish them. We're working with the county right now. It's coming up with some programs, but talking to some of the financial institutions, they believe that it's still a good time to hold on that because of the current programs in place. And that is traditional best practice for economic development as well, that you start with the federal, go to the state, and then you use your local finances to do the gap financing. So it's good that we're meeting and that we're getting those structured. So when that time comes, we'll be ready. The next resolution that we're trying to work on is really just getting out and doing more case management. Now, we can't do that in person, but we're going to really use Zoom. And expanded wise is we're taking volunteers. We're going to partner with the chamber. Anyone else that wants to start making contact, we have quite a few businesses to cover, but we need to make sure that everybody has these guides. They know about beingprepared.org, and also to participate in a nationwide survey that a lot of economic developers are doing right now, just to check the pulse so we can help write some of this legislation going forward. Summarize, I can't stress this enough. All the businesses out there, call your banker immediately and find out what you can qualify for. Everybody visit beingprepared.org for more information and shop locally like your economy depends on it, because right now it really does. If you have any questions, there's my contact information. And again, beingprepared.org. I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hoban, and the screen is down. Questions for Mr. Hoban? Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Patrick. That was very helpful. I have been contacted by two businesses in town. First one is a service provider that was very anxious to try to schedule something as soon as the first stay-at-home order was set to expire. And of course, that couldn't take place. And in service businesses, they're limited by what they can do because there's only so many working hours in a week. Is the chamber helping these service businesses determine how they can ramp back up and manage the business when there might be a lot of demand in the pipeline of people wanting mostly personal services, or any other thing that will require them to handle their regular scheduling appointments that are set along with this pent-up demand? Is there anything that is helping them plan for that? And is there anything that we as customers can do to help those businesses with cash that would get them over this hump?
The cash-wise one, just right off the bat, just buying gift cards, prepaying for appointments, haircuts, I'm getting to the point where I could almost use one now. So whenever this is ready to go, I'll go get one. There are also guides out there on how to recover. It's one of the things that we're going to talk about at our Economic Development Council board meeting this week is having a recovery plan in place. But it's also getting those plans out to the businesses because we've never gone through something like this before. But we're always looking for best practices, and we'd also share those on beingprepared.org.
If I could also add to those comments, Ms. Smith, I learned today that the Chamber of Commerce, I believe on beingprepared.org, has posted on an opportunity for people to do that, where they can see a list of businesses that are taking sort of prepayments, knowing that you will collect on your services you're pre-purchasing down the road. So I believe that can be found on that website.
And on that same vein, if you've got a business that is normally accustomed to being in person, is the chamber offering some tutorials or other support to help them transition to remote virtual appointments so that their services can continue?
I'm not sure if that training has been offered yet, but that is something that we can discuss to partner with the chamber on to see if we can get some tutorials out there on how to use Zoom like we're doing right now.
And where can a consumer know which businesses are available that fall under they are permitted to be providing services, and where could they put a request in to have a business make their services available virtually?
I think we do have a questionnaire. There's a form that's on there. If that's one of the options, I'm not sure, but that's a good point that we should probably make a recommendation for. The other ones of whether they're essential or not, that's definitely on there. But asking if people would want to have virtual services, that's a good idea. We should probably make that request. Almost like a RFP for businesses to see who we can find.
Please, thank you.
Further questions for Mr. Hoban? Thank you, Mr. Hoban. It's good information, and as Mr. Hoban said, contact your banker, get online. I've found there's a wealth of information out there. You got to look for it. It's not that hard to find, though. All the agencies have done a very good job about being front forward on this. And I'm sure Mr. Hoban will be a good local resource for businesses going forward. So thank you.
Definitely. Thanks.
That concludes our business tonight. Before going to adjournment, are there concerns or comments? Ms. Smith.
I had asked a question and it forwarded to Ms. Reese because in my reading of this legislation, I wasn't clear on whether or not these individual tax rebate payments would be going to anybody with a disability. My daughter is 19 and receives SSI disability payments, and she had referred the question to Andrew Yoon, and I received an answer in my email, and I was wondering if he could share that tonight, if he is here.
Ms. Smith, I'm going to ask that you hold that, and I understand the question, but I don't think this is council business. This is personal business for you.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, there are a number of people in the community, as indicated by the number of SOAR participants, the Mark First constituents, and Seedling Theater and Penguin Project. A number of those families have either adults with disabilities or dependent children with disabilities, and it's unclear.
I understand that. Ms. Reese?
Mayor, if you'd like, I do have information that Mr. Hune forwarded to me. This is what we've learned from the federal government. It says people who get disability benefits from the Social Security Administration or Veterans Affairs are eligible for the payments, but not disabled adults who are claimed as dependents by their parents or other relatives on their taxes. So hopefully that information is useful.
Thank you.
Further comments or, I'm sorry, Ms. Cummings.
Thank you, Mayor. Really tonight, what I just wanted to do was, first of all, thank the staff for their continuous hard work, and for those especially who are considered essential workers and having to be out there still working on our behalf. Certainly to Ms. Reese, who continues to keep us abreast of things that are going on and making sure that we're well in the loop at this time. I do want to share it, and I think Patrick certainly hit on it, that it's important for us to continue to support our local businesses as much as possible. That's something I wanted to share. Personally, I personally try to at least twice a week order takeout or home delivery in order to try to keep our economy going. And Patrick was also right about the idea of, pre-ordering services, or I see an esthetician. I've been ordering products from her just to be another way to keep her small business going. So we have to be mindful of those things. But number one has to be safety. I've gotten a lot of emails this week and comments about, different things going on, whether it's small groups gathering. Somebody said, I feel like in my neighborhood it's a vacation because too many families are just out, whether they're gardening or whatever. This is a pandemic. This is a health issue. I don't want it to happen to where it impacts your household before you get the message. So I'm pleading with our community to take this serious. This is not a vacation time. This is not time to play. You can do it inside the house, go out as necessary. Even for me, there's days that I'm in here and what I'll do is I'll open the front door, get my fresh air and close it back. We have to be safe and think smart about this thing as a community, as one whole. And I do want to shout out one of our local businesses who's changed kind of what they do. They are a local medical facility, but they sent us an email about how they've changed how they work in order to assist our community. And I encourage more of that as well. So if you have a business that can in other ways than what you have done in the past, I highly encourage you. We have to do this as a community. It's going to take all of us to make it through and come out positively on the other side. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. And everybody, if you're done speaking and don't wish to speak again, can you turn your raised hand off and leave it on if you've got more comments to make? Mr. Preston.
Thanks, Mayor. Just one item that I was especially appreciative for today, and would like to encourage those watching who live in Normal tomorrow and Wednesday to partake in if they choose and are able, is our Normal Police Department. Some may have seen are driving around neighborhoods and just kind of spreading some positivity and not getting out of the vehicles, but really doing, drive-by positivity, I guess, for lack of a better word, specifically for children and for families during the stay-at-home order. And it's something that my wife and I and our dog went out to side for today when we heard them coming down the street, and about everybody on our street came out when they did. And it was something that, even from afar, was a great thing that really, quote unquote, brought us together. Thank you to all of our police officers and all of our essential workers at the town for doing what you guys are doing to keep us all safe and happy and healthy, And for those who are not aware of if this is coming to their neighborhood and when, the Normal Police Department's Facebook page has a post with the full schedule of neighborhoods that they're doing. It's give or take around the lunch hour, it seems like, both tomorrow and Wednesday as well. So check that out, and thank you to all of them.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to start by echoing thanks to all the staff that are going above and beyond, and hopefully you're all staying safe and healthy out there, and thanks for all you're doing. I've been getting neighborhood questions and questions from around, and I got it this morning on the radio about a little bit of confusion about curbside services. And just to clear that up, if anybody's actually watching, all of our weekly curbside services working except for landscape waste, and that's been put on hold for the moment. But everything else, trash, recycling, brush, is all being picked up weekly. So it's just that one thing that's been put on hold for now, or delayed in startup. And then a little bit of PSA for cultural arts. The Normal Theater announced virtual movie options, so you can purchase tickets and watch in the comfort of your own home with a link. And so if you've run out of movie ideas out there, the Normal Theater's got an option for you to take advantage. So thanks to Beth Wisman and the cultural arts team for being creative and coming up with ways to serve our public even in this crisis. Thank you, everybody.
And Mr. Nord. Mr. Nord, your mute's on.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Mine is more of a housekeeping question. Now we've got emergency orders that have been put in place, and I guess the original understanding, I didn't think we were going to have emergency orders, but since we do, Ms. Reese and I have been emailing, and they're only valid for 48 hours. And then there are 2 additional 48-hour timeframes that the mayor can have on those. So this one that just came out, it's only good for 6 days unless we talk about it and vote on it, is my understanding. So the next council meeting is in 2 weeks. How do we handle that going forward? Do we need to have an emergency meeting so we can either formally extend this for the duration? Because in 6 days, we're going to have a problem.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Day on that one.
Okay, so when we passed the emergency ordinance, it has a list of a number of different powers and authorities. Generally, those last under the terms of the ordinance for as long as the state is under its emergency declaration. There is the separate section that deals with the mayor's emergency powers under our ordinance. That was in the section 11 in the emergency declaration, our emergency declaration ordinance. It picked up the mayor can also perform the emergency powers that are authorized under our emergency ordinance. Under those, it had to be, and those are the powers that are limited by the 48 hours up to the 6 days before they're subject to council review. In there, what we had done instead is just say those powers could last until the next council meeting. When section 11 came out, then we just reverted back to the normal powers under our ordinance in terms of what was in section 11. The powers that are listed under the emergency declaration, which so far all of our emergency orders have been granted under the authority of that ordinance. Those won't expire after the 48. Those aren't subject to the 48-hour limitations. So those will last until the end of the state's emergency declaration.
The ones that we approved in the ordinance, yes, but the new one is the one that I'm wondering, do we have to have some action? Is this something we should talk about offline? I don't know if this is the right time frame. I just wanted to bring it up that my understanding, especially after communicating with Ms. Reese, is we've got this 6 day time limit. So maybe now's not the time, but I wanted to, I just didn't know if this was the time because we're all here. We could call an emergency meeting if we need to.
Right. Under, you're talking about the enforcement ordinance that was passed this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, that is granted not only under our ordinance, but also under the governor's authority, under the governor's stay-at-home order specifically granted authority for the local enforcement. So I don't think that one itself would be subject to council review, but we can talk about that offline if you've got further questions on that.
Okay, very good.
Mr. McCarthy, you still got a hand raised. Did you have additional?
Sorry, no, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Nord, did you come back on or? Thank you. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Ms. Hawker.
Sorry, it wouldn't unmute. Mrs. Lorenz.
Aye.
Mr. Preston.
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye.
Ms. Cummings.
Aye.
Mr. Nord.
All right.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye, thank you. We are adjourned, but I do want to make one comment before we did. I was going to put it in and I neglected to do that. I just want to thank the residents of the town of Normal for doing what they're doing in this community. They're showing help with their neighbors. There's been a lot of great stories about how people are helping each other in the community. People are concerned about what's happening in this community. I just want to take a minute to say thank you to the citizens of Normal for doing the right thing too. And I think we're done here. Good night, all.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.